Do you ever feel like you're living the same day on a loop? You wake up, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and get the same results, only to wonder why nothing ever changes. What if your brain isn't just observing this reality? What if it's scientifically hardwired to perpetuate it? What if the very organ you rely on to navigate life has become a biological prison, running the same programs over and over, like a computer stuck in an infinite loop? And what if I told you there's a scientifically proven method to break that wiring, to literally dismantle the neural architecture that keeps you chained to your past and install the circuitry of your future self? The truth is, you are not living in the present moment. You are living in the echo of yesterday, and your brain has become so efficient at this repetition that it now happens automatically beneath the threshold of your conscious awareness. The pain you feel is not abstract. It is the weight of living as a prisoner of your own past. Every limiting belief you carry, every habit you cannot seem to break, every emotional pattern that resurfaces like clockwork, these are not character flaws or signs of weakness. They are the physical architecture of your brain, neural pathways carved so deeply through repetition that they have become the default highways of your consciousness. You feel trapped by your own personality, as if who you are is a life sentence handed down by forces beyond your control. Most self-help literature tells you to simply think positive, to visualize your dreams, to affirm your way into a better life. But this approach often fails, and when it does, you blame yourself, believing you lack the discipline or the worthiness to change. The truth, however, is far more profound and far more liberating. Dr. Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist who has dedicated his life to bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science, has revealed something that changes everything. You cannot create a new future while your brain is physically wired to your past. The failure of positive thinking is not your failure. It is a failure to understand the biology of change. Your body has become emotionally addicted to the past. Every time you feel stress, anxiety, or unworthiness, you are not just experiencing an emotion. You are releasing a cascade of chemicals that your body has learned to crave. Your cells have become so accustomed to these chemical signatures that they now seek them out, like an addict seeking their next fix. This is why you can consciously want to change, yet find yourself unconsciously recreating the same patterns. Your body is literally fighting your mind's desire for transformation because it is addicted to the familiar chemistry of who you've always been. But here is the promise that will reshape your understanding of what is possible. You can learn Dispenza's method to literally rewire your brain's hardware. You can break the habit of being your old self and install the neurology of your future self. This is not metaphor. This is not wishful thinking. This is measurable, observable, scientifically validated change at the level of your brain's physical structure. You can become the architect of your own neural pathways, the programmer of your own biological software, and in doing so, you can step into a version of yourself that currently exists only as potential. The question is not whether you can change. The science has already proven that you can. The question is whether you will commit to the process of becoming someone new, someone who is no longer defined by the past, but is instead pulled forward by the magnetic force of a future you have consciously designed. Dr. Joe Dispenza stands as a bridge between two worlds that have long been kept separate: the world of spirituality and the world of cutting-edge neuroscience. He is not a mystic speaking in vague abstractions, nor is he a cold scientist dismissing the power of consciousness. He is a master who has taken the ancient practice of meditation and decoded its mechanisms through the lens of neurobiology, epigenetics, and quantum physics. His work reveals that the transformation promised by spiritual traditions is not only real, but is also happening at the level of neurons, synapses, and gene expression. This is the synthesis you have been waiting for, the marriage of inner work and outer validation, of consciousness and chemistry, of intention and biology. Here is the pact we make today. In this video, you will learn the scientific feedback loop that keeps you stuck in the same patterns, the same emotional states, the same limited version of yourself. You will discover the three-step meditation process that allows you to break this loop at its source, to interrupt the automatic programs running in your subconscious and to consciously install new patterns that align with the future you desire. You will understand how to use your mind to change your brain, and how changing your brain changes your reality. This is not theory. This is a practical technology of transformation that thousands of people around the world are using to heal chronic illnesses, overcome depression, manifest new careers, and step into lives they once thought were impossible. But I must warn you, there is a critical error that most people make when attempting this work, and it is the #1 reason they fail to see results. They try to do this process from the wrong state of mind, a state that actually reinforces the old wiring rather than dismantling it. They sit down to meditate with the best intentions, but they are operating from a brainwave frequency that makes true transformation impossible. I will reveal this fatal mistake and show you exactly how to avoid it in part 4 of this video. For now, I ask you to do one thing. Go to the comments section and write down one habit you are ready to break, one pattern you are ready to release. Make this declaration not just to me, but to yourself. Let this be the moment you draw a line in the sand between who you have been and who you are becoming. Subscribe to this channel if you are ready to join a community of individuals who refuse to be defined by their past and who are committed to the daily work of becoming their future selves. At the heart of Dr. Dispenza's revolutionary work lies a principle so simple yet so profound that it explains the entirety of your current life experience. Your personality creates your personal reality. This is not a philosophical statement, it is a description of a biological process. Your personality is not some abstract quality that defines your character. It is a specific combination of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. These 3 elements, thought, action, and emotion, form an interconnected system, a feedback loop that runs continuously, mostly beneath your conscious awareness. When you wake up in the morning, you begin thinking the same thoughts you thought yesterday. These thoughts are not random. They are the well-worn grooves in your neural pathways, the automatic programs that have been running for years, perhaps decades. These habitual thoughts trigger familiar emotions. If you think thoughts of lack, your body responds with feelings of anxiety or unworthiness. If you think thoughts of resentment, your body generates the chemical signature of anger or bitterness. These emotions then drive your actions. When you feel anxious, you make decisions from a place of fear. When you feel unworthy, you sabotage opportunities that could elevate your life. Your actions, in turn, create your external reality, the results you see in your relationships, your career, your health, your financial situation. And here is where the loop closes. When you observe this reality, when you see the evidence of your limitations reflected back to you, it reinforces the original thoughts that started the cycle. You think, "See, I knew I wasn't good enough, I knew it wouldn't work out." And so the loop continues day after day, year after year, until this pattern becomes so automatic that you don't even recognize it as a pattern anymore. You simply believe this is who you are. This is what Dispenza calls the habit of being yourself. Just as you can develop a habit of biting your nails or checking your phone every 5 minutes, you have developed a habit of being a specific personality. You have practiced being anxious, being limited, being stuck for so long that your brain has become extraordinarily efficient at producing this state. The neural networks associated with these thoughts have been strengthened through repetition. The emotional centers of your brain have been conditioned to expect and crave these familiar feelings. Your body has become so accustomed to the chemical cocktail of stress hormones and limiting emotions that it now operates as if this state is your baseline, your normal. To your body, this personality is not a problem to be solved. It is simply the environment it knows, the chemical reality it has adapted to. But here is what most people fail to understand. This feedback loop is not a life sentence. It is a learned pattern, and what has been learned can be unlearned. The reason you feel stuck is not because you are fundamentally broken or because you lack some essential quality that others possess. You feel stuck because you have become so skilled at being your current self that your brain has automated the process. Every thought, every feeling, every action has been rehearsed so many times that it now happens without conscious effort. Your personality has become a habit, and like all habits, it operates in the realm of the subconscious. This is actually good news, because it means that the problem is not who you are at your core. The problem is simply the programming that has been running in the background of your consciousness. Consider this. If your personality is creating your reality, and your personality is nothing more than a habitual pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting, then changing your reality is not about changing your circumstances first. It is about changing your personality. It is about interrupting the feedback loop at its source. Most people approach life backwards. They wait for their circumstances to change so that they can feel differently, think differently, and act differently. They say, when I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. When I find the relationship, then I'll feel loved. When I achieve the success, then I'll feel worthy. But this is precisely the logic that keeps you trapped. Your external reality is the effect, not the cause. It is the printout of the program that has been running in your subconscious mind. To create a new reality, you must first create a new personality. You must begin thinking new thoughts, feeling new emotions, and taking new actions before you see the evidence in your external world. This requires you to operate from a place of faith, not religious faith but biological faith, the understanding that your brain is designed to change, that your neural pathways are not fixed, and that you have the power to consciously direct the rewiring process. You must become someone new in your inner world before you can experience something new in your outer world. This is the reversal of logic that changes everything. This is the understanding that shifts you from being a victim of your circumstances to being the creator of your experience. The feedback loop that has kept you stuck is also the mechanism that will set you free. Once you understand that your thoughts create your feelings drive your actions create your reality, and your reality reinforces your thoughts, you can begin to intervene at any point in this cycle. But the most powerful point of intervention is at the level of thought and emotion, because this is where the pattern originates. If you can change what you think and how you feel, you will automatically change what you do and what you experience. This is not positive thinking, this is strategic rewiring. This is the conscious use of your attention and your emotional energy to install a new program, to create a new habit of being yourself, a self that is aligned with the future you desire rather than the past you have known. The reason this work is so challenging is that your current personality feels like who you are. It feels like your identity, your essence, your unchangeable nature. But Dispenza's research reveals that this sense of fixed identity is an illusion created by repetition. You are not your personality. You are the consciousness that has the power to observe your personality and to choose a different one. You are not the program, you are the programmer. You are not the character in the story, you are the author who can rewrite the script. This distinction is everything. When you realize that your personality is not who you are, but rather something you have been doing, you reclaim your power. You recognize that you can stop doing the old personality and start doing a new one. You can break the habit of being yourself and install the habit of being the person you want to become. This is the central concept that unlocks everything else in Dispenza's work. Your personality creates your personal reality. If you want a different reality, you must become a different person. Not in some distant future, not when circumstances finally align, but right now, in the laboratory of your own mind. The transformation begins the moment you accept that who you have been is not who you must continue to be. It begins when you recognize that the feedback loop that has defined your life is not a prison, but a mechanism. And mechanisms can be understood, interrupted, and reprogrammed. This is the foundation upon which everything else is built. And once you truly grasp it, you will never see yourself or your life in the same way again. The beauty of this principle is that it is both the diagnosis and the cure. It explains why you have been stuck, and it reveals the path to freedom. Your personality, the habitual way you think, act, and feel, has been creating your reality. This reality has been reinforcing your personality. This is the loop. But now, armed with this understanding, you can step outside the loop. You can become the observer of your own patterns, the witness to your own habits, and from this elevated perspective, you can begin the work of conscious change. You can decide with full awareness and intention to think differently, to feel differently, and to act differently, not because your circumstances have changed, but because you have chosen to become someone new. And when you sustain this new way of being long enough, your reality will have no choice but to reorganize itself to match the new signal you are broadcasting. This is not magic. This is the science of how personality creates reality, and it is the key to everything that follows. To understand why changing your personality changes your reality, you must first understand the architecture of your mind. Think of your brain as the hardware of a computer. It is the physical structure, the neurons and synapses and neural networks that process information. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is the operating system, the software that runs in the background, managing all the automatic processes that keep you alive and functioning. Over the course of your life, you have installed countless programs into this operating system. These programs are your beliefs. Beliefs about money, about relationships, about your own worth, about what is possible for you and what is not. These beliefs were not chosen consciously. They were downloaded from your environment, from your parents, your culture, your early experiences. By the time you reached adolescence, most of these programs were already in place, running automatically, shaping your perceptions and your responses without your awareness. The critical insight here is that these programs are not just abstract ideas floating in your mind. They are physical patterns in your brain. Every belief you hold is encoded in the structure of your neural networks. Every time you have a thought that aligns with one of these beliefs, you are activating a specific pathway in your brain. The more you activate this pathway, the stronger it becomes. This is the principle of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its structure based on repeated experience. But here is the problem. Most of your experiences are not new. Most of your thoughts are not original. You are thinking the same thoughts you thought yesterday, which means you are activating the same neural pathways, which means you are strengthening the same programs. Your brain is not evolving, it is simply becoming more efficient at running the old software. Now, when you try to change your life through willpower alone, through sheer determination or positive affirmations, you are essentially trying to change the output without changing the code. It is like putting a sticky note on your computer monitor that says "run faster" and expecting the machine to suddenly perform better. The monitor is just the display. It is not where the processing happens. The real work, the real computation, is happening in the operating system, in the subconscious programs that are running beneath the surface. This is why affirmations often fail. You can stand in front of a mirror and repeat, "I am wealthy, I am confident, I am successful" 1,000 times. But if the underlying program in your subconscious is broadcasting, "I am not enough, I don't deserve success, money is hard to come by," then your affirmations are just noise. They are not reaching the level where the actual programming exists. To change the output, to change your reality, you must go into the system and rewrite the code itself. You must access the operating system, the subconscious mind, and install new programs that are aligned with the future you desire. This is not a metaphor. This is a precise description of what must happen at the neurological level. You must create new neural pathways that encode new beliefs, new ways of thinking, new emotional responses, and you must activate these new pathways repeatedly until they become stronger than the old ones, until they become the default programs that run automatically. This is the process of breaking the habit of being yourself. You are not trying to improve the old self. You are installing a new operating system altogether. But here is where the logic becomes even more compelling. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. This is a well-documented phenomenon in neuroscience. When you mentally rehearse an action, your brain fires the same neural networks as when you physically perform that action. Athletes have known this for decades. They visualize their performance, and their brains respond as if they are actually executing the movements. This is not just mental preparation. This is physical training at the level of the nervous system. The brain is creating and strengthening the neural pathways associated with that activity, even though the body is not moving. This means that you can use your mind to rewire your brain without waiting for your external circumstances to change. Consider the implications of this. If you can mentally rehearse being confident, being abundant, being successful, and your brain responds as if you are actually experiencing these states, then you are literally installing the neural hardware of your future self. You are creating the biological infrastructure that will support the personality you want to embody. This is not wishful thinking. This is strategic neurological engineering. You are using the principle of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change based on experience, but you are providing the experience internally through focused mental rehearsal rather than waiting for it to happen externally. You are taking control of the programming process, and in doing so, you are taking control of who you are becoming. The unshakable logic of this approach is that it bypasses the need for external validation. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before you can change. You do not need permission from the world to install a new program in your mind. You do not need proof that it will work before you begin the process. The proof is in the science. Your brain will change in response to repeated mental and emotional rehearsal. The neural pathways you activate repeatedly will become stronger. The programs you run consistently will become automatic. This is not a matter of belief. This is a matter of biology. Your brain is designed to adapt to the patterns you feed it, and you have the power to choose those patterns consciously and deliberately. This is why Dispenza's method is so powerful. It is not based on hope or faith in the traditional sense. It is based on an understanding of how the brain works. When you understand that your subconscious programs are just neural patterns, and that neural patterns can be changed through focused attention and emotional engagement, you realize that you are not stuck with the personality you have. You are not limited by your past. You are not defined by your current circumstances. You are a work in progress, a system capable of radical transformation, and the tools for that transformation are already within you. You simply need to learn how to access the operating system and begin the work of rewriting the code. The old paradigm told you that you are a victim of your conditioning, that your early experiences have shaped you in ways that are difficult or impossible to change. The new paradigm, supported by decades of neuroscience research, tells you something radically different. You are the programmer. You are the one who has the power to go into the system and install new software. Yes, the old programs are there, and yes, they have been running for a long time, but they are not permanent. They are not who you are. They are simply patterns that have been reinforced through repetition, and patterns can be interrupted, weakened, and replaced. This is the unshakable logic that underpins everything else. If your personality is a program, and programs can be rewritten, then you have the power to become anyone you choose to be. The question is not whether you can change. The question is whether you will commit to the process of change. Will you dedicate the time and energy required to access your subconscious mind, to identify the old programs that are no longer serving you, and to install new programs that align with your desired future? Will you trust the process even when you do not yet see the evidence in your external reality? Will you continue to rehearse the new personality, to think the new thoughts, to feel the new emotions, even when your circumstances are still reflecting the old programming? This is the challenge, and it is also the opportunity. You are being invited to step into a new understanding of what it means to be human, to recognize that you are not a fixed entity, but a dynamic system, capable of conscious evolution, and that the power to direct that evolution is already within you. The logic is simple, but the implications are profound. Your brain is the hardware. Your subconscious mind is the operating system. Your beliefs are the programs. Your thoughts and emotions are the code. And you are the programmer. When you fully grasp this, when you internalize this understanding at the deepest level, you will never again feel powerless in the face of your circumstances. You will know that no matter what your past has been, no matter what your current reality looks like, you have the ability to go into the system and change the code. You have the ability to install a new operating system, one that is designed to create the reality you desire rather than perpetuate the reality you have known. This is the unshakable logic of transformation, and it is the foundation upon which you will build your new self. The first step in rewiring your brain is not action, it is preparation. You must understand that the analytical mind, the part of you that is reading these words right now, is not the part of you that holds the power to create lasting change. The analytical mind operates in the realm of the known. Its job is to analyze, to compare, to judge based on past experiences. It is the voice that says, "This is how things have always been, so this is how they will continue to be." It is the part of you that keeps you tethered to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. To access the deeper levels of your mind, the levels where the subconscious programs are stored and where true transformation occurs, you must move beyond the analytical mind. You must quiet the constant chatter, the endless stream of thoughts that keeps you locked in the same patterns. This is where meditation becomes not just a spiritual practice, but a neurological tool. When you meditate, you are not simply relaxing or clearing your mind for the sake of peace. You are deliberately altering your brainwave state. In your normal waking consciousness, your brain operates primarily in beta waves, a state characterized by alertness, analysis, and active thinking. This is the state you are in when you are navigating your day, solving problems, interacting with the world. But beta is also the state of stress, of survival, of reacting to external stimuli. When you are in beta, your brain is focused on the outer world, on the people, places, and things that make up your material reality. And as long as your attention is directed outward, you cannot access the inner realm where change happens. To rewrite the subconscious programs, you must slow down your brainwaves. You must move from beta into alpha, and ideally into theta. Alpha is the state of light meditation, of relaxed awareness. It is the bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind. Theta is even deeper. It is the state you enter just before sleep, the realm of deep meditation, where the subconscious mind is most accessible. In theta, the analytical mind is quiet. The critical voice is silent. The barriers between your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming are dissolved. This is the state where the operating system can be accessed, where the code can be rewritten. This is the state where you become the programmer rather than the program. But reaching this state is not as simple as closing your eyes and hoping for the best. It requires practice, discipline, and a specific technique. The goal is to train your brain to move from beta to alpha to theta on command, to develop the skill of entering the subconscious realm at will. This is what Dispenza's meditation protocols are designed to do. They are not vague exercises in mindfulness. They are precise methods for altering your brainwave state, for quieting the analytical mind, and for opening the door to the deeper levels of consciousness where transformation is possible. The more you practice this, the more efficient your brain becomes at making this transition. What once took 30 minutes of focused effort eventually happens in just a few breaths. The mental preparation also involves a shift in identity. You must begin to see yourself not as a fixed personality, but as pure consciousness, as awareness itself. When you meditate, you are not just relaxing your body, you are dissolving your attachment to the identity you have been carrying. You are releasing your identification with the thoughts, the emotions, the memories, the stories that have defined you. You are stepping back from the character you have been playing and recognizing yourself as the author, the observer, the consciousness that exists beyond the personality. This is a radical shift, and it is essential for the work that follows. As long as you believe you are your thoughts, you cannot change your thoughts. As long as you believe you are your emotions, you cannot change your emotions. But when you recognize that you are the awareness observing the thoughts and emotions, you reclaim your power to choose different ones. This process of moving beyond the analytical mind is also a process of disconnecting from the external environment. Your brain has been trained to pay attention to the outer world, to the threats, the opportunities, the demands of daily life. This constant focus on the external keeps you in a state of reaction, of survival. You are always responding to something outside of yourself, always adapting to circumstances, always being shaped by forces beyond your control. But when you close your eyes and turn your attention inward, when you withdraw your focus from the people, places, and things that make up your reality, you create space for something new to emerge. You are no longer defined by your environment. You are no longer limited by your circumstances. You are free to imagine, to create, to become something other than what you have been. The preparation phase is about creating the optimal conditions for change. It is about understanding that transformation does not happen in the chaos of your daily life. It happens in the stillness, in the silence, in the space you create through meditation. It is about recognizing that your brain is a tool, and like any tool, it must be used correctly to produce the desired result. You would not try to cut wood with a hammer or drive a nail with a saw. In the same way, you cannot rewire your subconscious mind while operating in the analytical, survival-oriented state of beta. You must learn to shift gears, to move into the state where the subconscious is accessible, where the programs can be identified and altered, where the new code can be installed. This mental preparation is not a one-time event. It is a skill that you develop over time. Each time you meditate, each time you successfully quiet the analytical mind and enter the deeper states of alpha and theta, you are strengthening the neural pathways associated with this shift. You are training your brain to move more easily between the outer world of action and the inner world of creation. You are building the capacity to access the operating system whenever you choose, to step out of the automatic programs and into the realm of conscious choice. This is the foundation of all the work that follows. Without this preparation, without this ability to move beyond the analytical mind, the techniques in the next sections will not work. They will remain intellectual concepts rather than lived experiences. But with this preparation, with this skill, you become capable of true transformation. You become capable of breaking the habit of being yourself and installing the neurology of your future self. The goal of this mental preparation is to reach a state where you are no one, nowhere in no time. This may sound abstract, but it is a precise description of what must happen neurologically. When you are no one, you have released your attachment to your current identity, to the personality that has been running your life. When you are nowhere, you have disconnected from your physical environment, from the places and spaces that trigger your habitual responses. When you are in no time, you have moved beyond the past and the future, beyond the memories that define you and the worries that constrain you. You are in the eternal present, the only moment where change is possible. This is the state of pure consciousness, of pure potential. And it is from this state that you will begin the work of creating a new self. The analytical mind will resist this process. It will tell you that this is a waste of time, that nothing is happening, that you should be doing something productive instead of sitting still with your eyes closed. This resistance is not a sign that you are doing it wrong. It is a sign that you are approaching the threshold of change. The analytical mind is the guardian of the known, and it will fight to keep you in the familiar territory of your current personality. But you must persist. You must understand that this resistance is simply the old program trying to maintain its dominance, and that by continuing to practice, by continuing to move beyond the analytical mind, you are weakening the old program and strengthening your capacity for conscious change. This is the work of mental preparation, and it is the most important work you will ever do. It is the work of becoming the master of your own mind, the programmer of your own consciousness, and the creator of your own reality. Once you have successfully quieted the analytical mind and entered the deeper states of consciousness, you are ready to begin the actual process of rewiring your brain. This process consists of 3 distinct steps, each building upon the last, each essential to the overall transformation. These are not vague suggestions or abstract principles. They are specific techniques that, when practiced correctly, produce measurable changes in your brain's structure and function. The first step is to disconnect completely from your current identity and enter what Dispenza calls the quantum field, the realm of pure potential, where all possibilities exist simultaneously and where your focused intention can begin to collapse those possibilities into a new reality. In your meditative state, with your brain waves slowed to alpha or theta, you begin by expanding your awareness beyond the boundaries of your physical body. You become aware of the space around you, not just the room you are in, but the infinite space that extends in all directions. You become aware of the space within you, the space between your atoms, the vast emptiness that makes up most of your physical form. You recognize that you are not just a solid object moving through space, you are space itself, temporarily organized into a pattern that you call me. This awareness of space is the first step in disconnecting from the material world, from the people, places, and things that have been defining you. As you deepen into this awareness, you begin to release your attachment to your identity. You are no longer thinking of yourself as a person with a name, a history, a set of problems and responsibilities. You are simply consciousness, awareness without form. You are no one. You also release your attachment to location. You are not in your living room or your bedroom or wherever your physical body happens to be sitting. You are nowhere, existing in a state of pure presence that is not bound by physical space. And finally, you release your attachment to time. You are not thinking about your past, about the mistakes you made or the traumas you endured. You are not worrying about your future, about the bills you need to pay or the goals you have not yet achieved. You are in no time, existing in the eternal now, the only moment that truly exists. This state, being no one, nowhere, in no time, is not just a meditative experience, it is a neurological event. When you successfully achieve this state, you are literally disconnecting from the neural networks that have been keeping you locked in your current personality. The thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that make up your habitual self are all associated with specific people, places, and times. When you remove yourself from these anchors, you free up the energy that has been invested in maintaining your old identity. This energy can now be redirected toward creating a new one. You have stepped out of the program, and now you are in the space where reprogramming can occur. This is the quantum field, the realm of infinite possibility, and you have entered it not through some mystical process, but through the deliberate alteration of your brainwave state and your focus of attention. The second step is to mentally rehearse your future. But this is not the kind of visualization you may have tried before, where you simply picture yourself achieving a goal and hope that somehow the universe will deliver it. This is far more precise and far more powerful. In this step, you're not just imagining an outcome. You are rehearsing the person you need to become to create that outcome. You are mentally practicing the thoughts, the actions, and the feelings of your future self. You are asking yourself, who do I need to be to create the life I desire? How does that person think? How do they act? How do they respond to challenges? What choices do they make throughout their day? As you ask these questions, you begin to mentally rehearse the answers. If your future self is confident, you rehearse thinking confident thoughts. If your future self is disciplined, you rehearse making disciplined choices. If your future self is generous, you rehearse acts of generosity. You are not waiting for these qualities to emerge naturally. You are actively installing them through mental repetition. And here is where the science becomes extraordinary. Your brain does not know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. When you mentally rehearse being confident, your brain fires the same neural networks as when you actually behave confidently. You are literally creating new neural pathways, new connections between neurons, new circuits that encode this new way of being. You are installing new software, line by line, through the focused use of your imagination. This mental rehearsal must be detailed and specific. You cannot simply think, I want to be successful. You must define what success looks like for you, and then you must rehearse the specific thoughts and behaviors that will create that success. You must see yourself waking up early, making healthy choices, speaking with confidence, taking bold actions. You must rehearse these scenarios over and over, with as much sensory detail as possible until they become familiar to your brain. The more you rehearse, the stronger the neural pathways become. The more you practice being your future self in your mind, the more your brain begins to accept this new identity as real. You are literally rewiring your hardware, creating the neurological infrastructure that will support the personality you want to embody. But mental rehearsal alone is not enough. This brings us to the third and most critical step. You must feel the elevated emotions of your future, as if it has already happened. This is the key that unlocks everything. Emotions are not just feelings, they are chemical signals. Every emotion you experience triggers the release of specific neuropeptides and hormones that flood your body and communicate with your cells. When you feel gratitude, your body releases a different chemical signature than when you feel fear. When you feel joy, Your cells receive a different message than when you feel resentment. These chemicals are the language your body understands, and they are also the language of the quantum field. In quantum physics, everything is energy, and energy vibrates at different frequencies. Your thoughts have a frequency, and your emotions have a frequency. When you combine a clear intention, your mental rehearsal of your future self, with an elevated emotion, the feeling of that future already being real, you create a powerful electromagnetic signal. This signal is what Dispenza calls your signature, and it is this signature that the quantum field responds to. You are not just thinking about your future, you are broadcasting it as an energetic reality. You are teaching your body at the cellular level what your future feels like. And when your body knows what your future feels like, it begins to move toward that future automatically, magnetically. The elevated emotions you must cultivate are not the emotions of lack or waiting. You are not feeling hopeful that your future will come. You are feeling grateful that it is already here. You are not feeling anxious about when it will arrive. You are feeling joyful because you are already living it. This is the reversal of logic that changes everything. Most people wait for their circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel good. They say, when I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. When I find love, then I'll feel worthy. When I achieve success, then I'll feel fulfilled. But this approach keeps you trapped in the old loop. You are waiting for the external world to give you permission to feel differently, which means you are still living as a victim of your circumstances. Dispenza's method flips this logic on its head. You feel the elevated emotions first, before you see the evidence. You feel abundant before the money arrives. You feel loved before the relationship appears. You feel successful before the achievement is manifested. This is not delusion. This is strategic creation. You are using the principle that your emotions are the cause, not the effect. You are generating the emotional signature of your future self, and this signature is the signal that tells your brain and your body and the quantum field what reality you are choosing to create. The feeling is not the reward for achieving your goal. The feeling is the tool you use to create the goal. This third step requires you to sustain these elevated emotions for the duration of your meditation. You must immerse yourself in the feelings of gratitude, joy, freedom, love, wholeness, whatever emotions are associated with your desired future. You must let these emotions wash over you, fill you, become you. And as you do this, you are literally changing your body's chemistry. You are signaling new genes to turn on and old genes to turn off. You are teaching your cells to vibrate at a new frequency. You are becoming, at the biological level, the person you have been mentally rehearsing. This is not metaphor. This is measurable, observable change happening in real time within your body. The three steps work together as a unified process. First, you disconnect from your old identity by entering the quantum field, becoming no one, nowhere, in no time. Second, you mentally rehearse your future self, installing new neural pathways through detailed visualization. Third, you embody the emotions of your future, creating the electromagnetic signature that broadcasts your new reality. When you practice these three steps consistently, you are doing more than just meditating. You are engaging in a precise neurological and biological transformation. You are breaking the habit of being yourself by interrupting the old programs and installing new ones. You are becoming your future self, not in some distant tomorrow, but right now, in the laboratory of your own consciousness, where all change begins and where all reality is created. Even with a clear understanding of the process, most people fail to achieve the transformation they seek because they make critical errors in execution. These mistakes are not obvious, and they often go undetected because they happen at such a subtle level. The first and most fatal mistake is attempting to do this work while still operating in beta brainwave state. Remember, beta is the state of the analytical mind, the state of waking consciousness where you are focused on the external world, analyzing, judging, and problem-solving based on past experiences. When you sit down to meditate with the intention of rewiring your brain, but your mind is still racing with thoughts about your to-do list, your problems, your doubts, you are not in the state where change can occur. You are still in beta, and beta is the state of the known, the state of the past. the state where the old programs run automatically. The analytical mind is a powerful tool, but it is also a gatekeeper. Its job is to protect you by keeping you within the boundaries of what you already know. When you try to create something new, the analytical mind immediately starts analyzing. Is this realistic? Have I ever done this before? What evidence do I have that this will work? These questions may seem reasonable, but they are actually the voice of the old program trying to maintain control. The analytical mind cannot create a new reality because its entire function is based on referencing the past. It can only recombine existing data. It cannot access the realm of pure potential where true novelty emerges. If you are meditating and you hear that voice saying, "This is silly, this isn't working, when is something going to happen?" You are still in beta. You are analyzing your meditation instead of experiencing it, and as long as you are analyzing, you are not creating. This is the critical error that was promised earlier, the number one reason people fail with this method. They sit down with sincere intentions. They follow the steps as they understand them, but they never actually leave beta. They never quiet the analytical mind enough to access alpha and theta. They spend their entire meditation thinking about the meditation, evaluating whether it's working, wondering if they're doing it right. This is like trying to fall asleep while constantly checking to see if you're asleep yet. The very act of checking prevents the state you're trying to achieve. The work of rewiring your brain can only be done when you move beyond the analytical mind, when you enter the deeper states where the subconscious is accessible and where the old programs can be interrupted and replaced. The second major mistake is waiting for the feeling. This error is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of causality. Most people have been conditioned to believe that feelings are responses to external events. Something good happens, and then you feel happy. You receive money, and then you feel abundant. You achieve success, and then you feel confident. This is the logic of the victim, the logic of someone who believes their internal state is determined by external circumstances. But Dispenza's work reveals that this causality is backwards. Your feelings are not effects, they are causes. Your emotional state is not a response to your reality. It is the creator of your reality. The feeling comes first, and the external manifestation follows. When you sit in meditation and mentally rehearse your future, you cannot wait to feel abundant until you see money in your bank account. You cannot wait to feel loved until someone appears in your life. You cannot wait to feel successful until you achieve your goals. If you wait for the feeling, you are still living in the old paradigm. You are still believing that the external world must change before you can change internally. But this is precisely the loop that keeps you stuck. The quantum field does not respond to your thoughts alone. It responds to the combination of your thoughts and your emotions. It responds to your electromagnetic signature, and that signature is determined by how you feel. If you are thinking thoughts of abundance but feeling emotions of lack, the feeling wins. Your body, your cells, your energy field are all attuned to the feeling, not the thought. You must generate the elevated emotions of your future before you see any evidence of that future in your external reality. This requires a leap of faith, but it is not blind faith. It is faith based on understanding the mechanism. You are not hoping that feeling abundant will magically make you wealthy. You are understanding that the feeling of abundance is the signal that tells your brain, your body, and the quantum field what reality you are choosing to create. You are not waiting for permission from the world to feel good. You are claiming that feeling as your birthright, as the starting point of creation rather than the end result. This shift in understanding is everything. When you realize that the feeling is the cause, not the effect, you stop waiting and you start creating. The third fatal mistake is getting up from your meditation and immediately returning to the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors of your old self. You do a powerful 20-minute meditation where you successfully quiet your analytical mind, mentally rehearse your future, and generate elevated emotions. You feel expanded, connected, transformed. And then you open your eyes, check your phone, see an email that triggers anxiety, and within seconds you are back in the old program. You get in your car, encounter traffic, and react with frustration. You arrive at work, interact with a difficult colleague, and respond with resentment. By mid-morning, you have completely undone the work you did in your meditation. You have reactivated all the old neural pathways, re-released all the old chemicals, and reinstalled the old emotional state. Your body has returned to its familiar addiction, and the brief glimpse of your future self has been erased. This is perhaps the most insidious mistake because it happens unconsciously. You do not realize that every time you react from your old personality, you are reinforcing the very patterns you are trying to break. The neural pathways you are trying to weaken become strong again. The emotional addictions you are trying to overcome are fed once more. The work of transformation is not just about the meditation, it is about maintaining the new state throughout your day. It is about catching yourself when you slip back into the old thoughts and emotions and consciously choosing to return to the elevated state you cultivated in your meditation. This is what Dispenza calls shortening the refractory period, the time it takes you to recover from being triggered back into your old self. In the beginning, you may spend 20 minutes in meditation feeling like your future self, and then 20 hours acting like your old self. The goal is to gradually reverse this ratio. You want to spend more and more of your day in the new state and less time in the old one. This requires vigilance, awareness, and a commitment to catching yourself in the act of being your old self. When you notice that you are thinking a familiar negative thought, you stop, you breathe, and you consciously choose a new thought. When you feel a familiar emotion of lack or fear rising, you pause, you remember the elevated emotions you generated in meditation, and you consciously shift your emotional state. This is the work of integration, and without it, your meditation becomes just a pleasant interlude rather than a transformative practice. These three mistakes, trying to create from beta, waiting for the feeling, and returning to the old self after meditation, are the primary reasons people fail to see results. They are subtle, they are insidious, and they are almost universal. But now that you are aware of them, you can avoid them. You can commit to truly quieting your analytical mind and entering the deeper states where change occurs. You can commit to generating the elevated emotions first, before you see the evidence. And you can commit to maintaining your new state throughout your day, shortening the refractory period, and gradually becoming your future self, not just in meditation, but in every moment of your life. This is the refinement that transforms a good practice into a life-changing one. This is the difference between understanding the method intellectually and embodying it fully. This is what separates those who talk about transformation from those who actually achieve it. Beyond avoiding the fatal mistakes, there are refinements and insights from Dr. Dispenza that can dramatically accelerate your progress. The first of these is a reframing of what you are actually doing in this process. Most people think of personal development as improving themselves, as becoming a better version of who they already are. But Dispenza's most powerful teaching is this: the greatest habit you can ever break is the habit of being yourself. This statement is radical because it challenges the very foundation of how you see personal growth. You are not trying to fix yourself. You are not trying to overcome your flaws while keeping the core of who you are intact. You are trying to become someone entirely new, someone who does not carry the limitations, the fears, the conditioning of your current self. This distinction is crucial because it determines the depth of your commitment and the boldness of your vision. If you think you are just improving yourself, you will make small incremental changes. You will try to be a little more confident, a little more disciplined, a little more successful. But if you understand that you are breaking the habit of being yourself entirely, you will give yourself permission to imagine a radical transformation. You will not be constrained by what seems realistic based on your past. You will not limit your vision to what feels achievable for the person you have been. You will recognize that the person you have been is not who you must continue to be, and that the future you desire may require you to become someone completely different. This is not about self-improvement. This is about self-transcendence. The second master's tip is an insight into the relationship between love and transformation. Dispenza teaches that to be empowered is to be so in love with your future that you are no longer living in your past. This is not romantic love. This is the love of possibility, the love of potential, the love of who you are becoming. When you fall in love with your future, when you become so captivated by the vision of your new self and your new life that it occupies your thoughts and stirs your emotions throughout the day, you naturally withdraw your attention and energy from the past. You stop rehearsing your old traumas. You stop telling the same stories about why you are limited. You stop identifying with the person you used to be because you are too busy being in love with the person you are becoming. This love for your future is the fuel that sustains your practice. Meditation can feel like work, like discipline, like something you force yourself to do. But when you are in love with your future, meditation becomes a joy. It becomes the time when you get to be with your beloved, when you get to experience the feelings and the thoughts and the reality of the life you are creating. This emotional connection to your future is what makes the practice sustainable. It is what allows you to maintain your commitment even when you do not yet see results. It is what keeps you returning to the meditation cushion day after day, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire to spend time in the reality you are building. Another refinement is understanding the role of gratitude in this process. Gratitude is not just a pleasant emotion, it is the ultimate state of receivership. When you feel grateful, you are signaling to your brain and your body that you have already received what you desire. Gratitude is the emotion of having, not wanting. When you meditate and you feel grateful for your future as if it has already happened, you are collapsing the gap between desire and fulfillment. You are telling your nervous system that the waiting is over, that the lack is resolved, that you are already living in the reality you have been seeking. This shifts you out of the frequency of wanting, which is a frequency of lack, and into the frequency of having, which is a frequency of abundance. The quantum field responds to this shift, and opportunities, synchronicities, and manifestations begin to appear in your life. The final master's tip is to understand that this work is not about control, it is about surrender. The analytical mind wants to control every aspect of the process. It wants to know exactly how your future will unfold, when it will arrive, what path it will take. But this need for control keeps you in beta, keeps you in the analytical mind, keeps you out of the quantum field where all possibilities exist. True creation requires you to surrender the how and the when. Your job is to define the what and the who, what you want to create and who you need to become. But you must release your attachment to how it will happen. You must trust that the quantum field, with its infinite intelligence and its infinite pathways, will orchestrate the events, the people, and the circumstances that will bring your vision into reality. This surrender is not passivity. It is the ultimate act of faith in the creative process. These refinements, breaking the habit of being yourself, falling in love with your future, using gratitude as the emotion of receivership, and surrendering the how, are the advanced techniques that separate beginners from masters. They are the insights that transform a mechanical practice into a living art. They are the wisdom that allows you to not just understand the method intellectually, but to embody it fully, to live it, to become it. When you integrate these refinements into your practice, you are no longer just someone who meditates. You are someone who is consciously and deliberately creating their reality from the inside out. You are someone who has taken full responsibility for their life, not by trying to control external circumstances, but by mastering the internal states that create those circumstances. This is the refinement that leads to mastery, and mastery is what leads to transformation. The power of Dr. Dispenza's work lies not just in its philosophical elegance, but in its grounding in hard science. This is not a system based on belief or faith in the traditional sense. It is a system based on understanding how the brain and body actually function, and then using that understanding to consciously direct the process of change. The first scientific principle that validates this entire approach is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. For decades, scientists believed that the brain was fixed after childhood, that the neural pathways you developed early in life were permanent. But research over the past 30 years has completely overturned this belief. We now know that the brain is plastic, malleable, capable of profound change at any age. Neuroplasticity means that every time you think a thought, you are activating a specific pattern of neurons in your brain. When you think the same thought repeatedly, those neurons fire together repeatedly, and over time they wire together, forming a strong neural pathway. This is how habits are formed at the neurological level, but the reverse is also true. When you stop thinking a thought, when you stop activating a particular neural pathway, that pathway weakens. The connections between those neurons begin to prune away, and eventually the pathway dissolves. This is the biological mechanism behind breaking a habit. You are not fighting against some immutable aspect of your character. You are simply allowing an unused neural pathway to atrophy, while simultaneously building new pathways through new thoughts and new behaviors. The implication of neuroplasticity for Dispenza's method is profound. When you mentally rehearse being your future self, when you imagine thinking, acting, and feeling in new ways, you are not just daydreaming. You are literally creating new neural pathways in your brain. Your brain does not distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. Brain imaging studies have shown that when people mentally rehearse a physical action, like playing the piano or shooting a basketball, the same regions of the brain light up as when they actually perform that action. The motor cortex, the part of the brain responsible for movement, is activated by imagination alone. This means that mental rehearsal is not just preparation for action, it is a form of action itself. It is neurological training. This brings us to Hebb's law, one of the foundational principles of neuroscience, which states, "Neurons that fire together, wire together." This simple phrase encapsulates the entire mechanism of learning and habit formation. Every time you repeat a thought, an emotion, or a behavior, you are strengthening the neural circuit associated with that pattern. The more you repeat it, the stronger the circuit becomes, until eventually it becomes automatic, requiring no conscious effort. This is why your habits feel so effortless. They are running on well-established neural highways that have been reinforced through years of repetition. But Hebb's law also contains the key to change. If you can repeatedly fire a new pattern of neurons together, you can wire a new circuit. You can create a new habit, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. In Dispenza's meditation process, you are deliberately using Hebb's law to your advantage. By mentally rehearsing your future self over and over, by thinking the thoughts and feeling the emotions of that future person repeatedly, you are causing specific neurons to fire together repeatedly. And according to Hebb's law, those neurons will wire together, forming a new neural circuit that encodes this new way of being. The more you practice, the stronger this circuit becomes, until eventually it becomes the new default, the new automatic program. You have not just imagined a new self, you have built the neurological hardware to support that new self. This is not metaphor, this is measurable, physical change happening in the structure of your brain. The third pillar of scientific validation is epigenetics, the study of how behaviors and environment can cause changes in the way your genes work. For years, the prevailing belief was that your genes determined your destiny, that if you inherited certain genes, you were doomed to express the traits and diseases associated with those genes. But epigenetics has revealed that this is not true. Your genes are like a library of potential. They contain instructions for building proteins and regulating cellular function, but not all genes are active at all times. Some genes are turned on and some are turned off, and what determines which genes are expressed is not just your DNA, but your environment, your behaviors, and most importantly, your thoughts and emotions. Every time you have a thought, every time you feel an emotion, you are sending signals to your cells that can turn genes on or off. Stress, for example, signals genes associated with inflammation and disease. Elevated emotions like love, gratitude, and joy signal genes associated with growth, repair, and optimal function. This means that by changing your thoughts and emotions, you are literally changing which genes are being expressed in your body. You are not a victim of your genetics, you are the regulator of your genetic expression. This is the revolutionary insight of epigenetics, and it is the scientific foundation for Dispenza's claim that you can use your mind to heal your body, to overcome genetic predispositions, and to create a new biological reality. In the context of Dispenza's meditation practice, when you generate elevated emotions, when you feel gratitude, joy, love, wholeness, you are sending powerful signals to your cells. These signals activate genes associated with health, vitality, and optimal function. They deactivate genes associated with disease, aging, and degeneration. You are literally using your emotional state to rewrite your biological code. This is not wishful thinking. This is documented science. Studies have shown that meditation, particularly meditation that involves elevated emotions, can change gene expression in as little as 8 hours. The genes that were turned on in the morning can be turned off by evening, and new genes can be activated. You are not stuck with the genetic hand you were dealt. You have the power to reshuffle the deck through the conscious use of your mind and emotions. The scientific validation of Dispenza's work extends to quantum physics as well. In the quantum realm, particles exist in a state of superposition. They are in all possible states simultaneously until they are observed or measured, at which point they collapse into a single state. This phenomenon has led some physicists to propose that consciousness plays a role in determining physical reality, that the act of observation influences what manifests. While the application of quantum mechanics to human consciousness is still a subject of debate, the metaphor is powerful. The quantum field is a field of infinite potential, and your focused attention and intention act as the observer that collapses that potential into a specific reality. When you meditate and generate a clear intention combined with an elevated emotion, you are acting as the observer in your own life. You are collapsing the infinite possibilities of the quantum field into the specific reality you are choosing to create. Your electromagnetic signature, the combination of your thoughts and emotions, is the signal that the field responds to. This is not mysticism. This is a practical application of the observer effect, using your consciousness as the tool that shapes your reality. Whether or not quantum mechanics literally operates at the scale of human experience, the principle holds. Your focused attention and your emotional state are powerful forces that influence what you experience in your life. The scientific proof that validates Dispenza's method is not just theoretical, it is empirical. Brain scans, gene expression studies, and clinical observations have all demonstrated that meditation, particularly the kind of meditation Dispenza teaches, produces measurable changes in the brain and body. Participants in his workshops have shown dramatic increases in coherence between different regions of the brain, indicating greater integration and communication between neural networks. They have shown changes in brainwave patterns, moving from beta to alpha and theta with increasing ease. They have shown changes in gene expression, with genes associated with health and vitality being upregulated, and genes associated with disease being downregulated. These are not subjective reports. These are objective, measurable changes that can be documented and verified. The science is clear. Your brain is not fixed. Your genes are not your destiny. Your past does not determine your future. You have the power to change your brain through focused mental rehearsal, to change your gene expression through elevated emotions, and to change your reality through the conscious use of your attention and intention. This is not hope. This is not belief. This is documented, verified scientific fact. The only question is whether you will use this knowledge to transform your life. The tools are here. The science is here. The method is here. All that remains is your decision to apply it, to commit to the practice, and to become the living proof that transformation is not just possible, but inevitable, when you understand and work with the laws that govern your brain, your body, and your consciousness. Beyond the laboratory findings and the theoretical frameworks, the most compelling validation of Dr. Dispenza's work comes from the real-world transformations of the people who have applied his methods. At his advanced workshops, Dispenza and his team conduct brain scans using quantitative electroencephalography, or QEEG, which measures the electrical activity in different regions of the brain. These scans are performed before participants begin the intensive meditation practice and again after several days of training. The results are nothing short of extraordinary. Participants who have never meditated before or who have struggled with meditation for years show dramatic increases in brain coherence, a measure of how well different regions of the brain are communicating and working together. High coherence is associated with states of flow, creativity, and optimal performance. It is the neurological signature of a brain that is integrated, balanced, and functioning at its highest level. Low coherence, on the other hand, is associated with stress, anxiety, and fragmented thinking. The brain scans from Dispenza's workshops show that participants can move from low coherence to high coherence in a matter of days, simply by practicing the meditation techniques he teaches. This is not a gradual process that takes months or years. This is rapid, measurable change happening in real time. The brain is reorganizing itself, creating new patterns of communication, establishing new levels of integration. This is neuroplasticity in action, and it is being documented and measured with scientific precision. But the changes are not just neurological, they are also physical and emotional. Participants report spontaneous healings of chronic conditions. Pain that has plagued them for years suddenly disappears. Illnesses that have resisted conventional treatment begin to resolve. Emotional traumas that have defined their lives start to release. These are not isolated incidents. They are patterns that emerge consistently across thousands of participants. While these reports are anecdotal and not controlled clinical studies, the sheer volume and consistency of the testimonials suggest that something profound is happening. People are not just feeling better temporarily. They are experiencing fundamental shifts in their health, their emotional state, and their life circumstances. The social proof extends beyond the workshops to the broader community of people who have read Dispenza's books and applied his methods in their daily lives. Online forums, social media groups, and testimonial videos are filled with stories of transformation. People who were stuck in dead-end jobs suddenly find new career opportunities. People who struggled with relationships attract healthy, loving partners. People who felt trapped by financial limitations experience unexpected windfalls or new income streams. While it is impossible to verify every story or to rule out coincidence, the patterns are striking. The common thread in all these stories is that the external changes followed internal changes. The people did not wait for their circumstances to improve. They changed themselves first, and then their circumstances reorganized to match their new internal state. This is the essence of social proof in Dispenza's work. It is not just that the science validates the method, but that real people in real life are achieving real results. They are not superhuman. They are not uniquely gifted. They are ordinary individuals who made the decision to apply these principles consistently. They committed to the daily practice of meditation. They learned to quiet their analytical minds, to mentally rehearse their futures, and to generate elevated emotions. They caught themselves slipping back into old patterns and consciously chose new ones. And over time, their brains changed, their bodies changed, and their realities changed. This is the validation that matters most. Not what happens in a laboratory, but what happens in the lived experience of people who take this work seriously and apply it diligently. The brain scans and the testimonials serve a crucial function. They bridge the gap between theory and practice. They provide evidence that this is not just a beautiful idea, but a practical technology. They give you permission to believe that transformation is possible for you, not because you are special, but because you are human, and humans have the capacity to rewire their brains, to change their gene expression, and to create new realities. The science and the stories together form a compelling case. This works. It has worked for thousands of people, and it can work for you. But it requires commitment. It requires consistency. It requires a willingness to step into the unknown, to let go of who you have been, and to embrace the process of becoming someone new. The validation is not just in the dramatic healings or the sudden manifestations. It is also in the subtle shifts that occur over time. People report feeling more present, more peaceful, more connected to themselves and others. They report a sense of purpose and meaning that was missing before. They report a growing confidence that they are not victims of circumstance, but creators of their own experience. These internal shifts are the real transformation, and they are the foundation for everything else. The external changes, the healings, the opportunities, the relationships, are simply reflections of the internal change. They are the evidence that you have successfully rewired your brain, changed your personality, and stepped into a new way of being. This is the validation that Dr. Dispenza's work offers, not just the promise of change, but the proof that change is happening right now in the brains and bodies and lives of people just like you. As we reach the culmination of this journey through Dr. Dispenza's revolutionary work, it is time to synthesize the power you have been given. You are not a victim of your biology, your past, or your circumstances. You are not a passive observer of your life, waiting for external forces to determine your fate. You are the neuroscientist of your own existence, equipped with the knowledge and the tools to consciously and deliberately evolve your consciousness and, as a natural consequence, your reality. This is not a metaphor. This is a literal description of what you are capable of. Your brain is the most sophisticated instrument in the known universe, and you have just learned how to operate it at a level that most people never discover. The synthesis of power lies in recognizing that everything you have learned in this video is interconnected. Your personality creates your personal reality. This is the foundational principle. Your personality is made up of habitual thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that run automatically in your subconscious mind. This is the mechanism. To change your reality, you must change your personality by rewiring your brain through meditation. This is the method. The meditation involves 3 steps: disconnecting from your old identity, mentally rehearsing your future self, and embodying the elevated emotions of that future. This is the practice. You must avoid the fatal mistakes of trying to create from the analytical mind, waiting for the feeling, and returning to your old self after meditation. This is the refinement. And the entire process is validated by neuroscience, epigenetics, and quantum physics, as well as by the measurable transformations of thousands of people. This is the proof. When you hold all these pieces together, you realize that you have been given a complete system. You have been given not just inspiration but instruction, not just theory but technique, not just hope but evidence. You have been given the keys to unlock the prison of your past and step into the freedom of your future. But these keys are useless if you do not use them. The power is not in knowing, the power is in doing. The power is in sitting down every day, quieting your analytical mind, entering the quantum field, rehearsing your future, and feeling the elevated emotions of that future. The power is in catching yourself when you slip back into old patterns and consciously choosing new ones. The power is in becoming so in love with your future that you naturally withdraw your energy from your past. The synthesis of power is also the recognition that you are not alone in this process. You are part of a growing community of individuals around the world who have decided to take responsibility for their own evolution. You are part of a movement that is bridging science and spirituality, that is proving that transformation is not a mystical event, but a biological process, that is demonstrating that human beings are capable of far more than we have been taught to believe. When you commit to this work, you are not just changing yourself. You are contributing to a collective shift in consciousness. You are proving through your own transformation that it is possible to break free from the limitations of the past and create a future that is aligned with your highest potential. This synthesis is not the end. It is the beginning. You have been given the knowledge, but knowledge alone changes nothing. You must now take this knowledge and apply it. You must make the commitment to practice, to persist, to trust the process even when you do not yet see the results. You must understand that transformation is not a single event, but a daily practice, a continuous choosing of the new over the old, the future over the past, the elevated over the familiar. This is the synthesis of power, the recognition that you have everything you need right now to become the person you were always meant to be. The only question is whether you will use it. Your past only exists because you keep it alive with your attention and your energy. Every time you revisit a memory, every time you tell the story of why you are limited, every time you feel the emotions of an old trauma, you are breathing life into the past. You are taking the energy that could be creating your future and investing it in maintaining your history. But today, you have learned the science of how to withdraw that energy and redirect it toward the future you desire. You have learned that your brain is not who you are. It is the instrument you use to create who you will become. You have learned that your personality is not fixed, it is a habit, and habits can be broken and new ones can be formed. The message of empowerment is this: you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. You do not need years of therapy to unravel every trauma or decades of discipline to overcome every flaw. What you need is to make a decision to stop being who you have been and to start being who you want to become. This decision is not made once, it is made every day, every moment, every time you catch yourself thinking an old thought or feeling an old emotion. It is the decision to consciously choose the new over the old, to rehearse the future instead of rehashing the past, to feel the elevated emotions of your desired reality instead of the familiar emotions of your current one. You have been given a gift in this video, the understanding that transformation is not a mystery. It is not reserved for the lucky or the chosen. It is a process, a technology, a set of principles that anyone can apply. The science has proven that your brain can change, that your genes can be influenced, that your reality can be shaped by your consciousness. The only variable is your commitment. Will you commit to the daily practice of becoming your future self? Will you commit to the discipline of meditation, not as a chore, but as an act of love for the person you are becoming? Will you commit to catching yourself when you slip back into the old patterns and consciously choosing the new ones? The empowerment comes from realizing that no one can do this work for you, and no one can stop you from doing it. Your transformation is not dependent on anyone else's approval, anyone else's belief, anyone else's permission. It is entirely within your control. You do not need perfect circumstances to begin. You do not need more time, more money, more resources. You need only the willingness to sit down, close your eyes, and do the work. You need only the courage to imagine a future that is different from your past, and the discipline to rehearse that future until it becomes your present. This is the message that the great masters have been teaching for millennia, and it is the message that modern science is now confirming. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a creator. You are consciousness itself, temporarily focused in a physical body, equipped with a brain that can be programmed and reprogrammed at will. You are the author of your own story, and the pen is in your hand. The question is not whether you can change. The science has already proven that you can. The question is whether you will change, whether you will take the knowledge you have gained today and turn it into action, whether you will commit to the daily practice of breaking the habit of being yourself and installing the habit of being your future self. The empowerment is also in recognizing that this work is not selfish. When you transform yourself, you transform everyone around you. When you step into your power, you give others permission to step into theirs. When you break free from the limitations of your past, you prove to the world that it is possible. You become a living example of what human beings are capable of when they understand and apply the principles of neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and conscious creation. Your transformation is not just about you, it is about contributing to the evolution of human consciousness itself. It is about being part of the solution rather than part of the problem. It is about choosing to be a creator rather than a victim, a master rather than a slave to circumstance. The final message of empowerment is this: you already have everything you need. You do not need to acquire anything new. You do not need to wait for anything to change. You have a brain that is capable of rewiring itself. You have a body that is capable of responding to elevated emotions. You have a consciousness that is capable of imagining a future and collapsing it into reality. The power is already within you. It has always been within you. The only thing that has been missing is the knowledge of how to use it, and that knowledge has now been given to you. The rest is up to you. The rest is your commitment, your discipline, your willingness to do the work every single day until the new personality becomes as automatic as the old one, until the future you have been rehearsing becomes the present you are living. Now comes the moment of decision. You have been given the knowledge, the method, the science, and the inspiration, but knowledge without application is just entertainment. If you close this video and return to your old patterns, nothing will change. The information will fade, the inspiration will wane, and you will remain exactly who you have been. But if you take this moment to make a commitment, to draw a line in the sand between your past and your future, then everything can change. This is your invitation to step into a new reality, to become a different person, to prove to yourself that transformation is not just possible, but inevitable when you apply these principles consistently. I challenge you to commit to a 7-day brain rewiring challenge. For the next 7 days, dedicate 15 minutes each morning to the meditation practice you have learned in this video. Quiet your analytical mind and enter the quantum field. Mentally rehearse your future self with vivid detail and sensory richness. Generate the elevated emotions of that future as if it has already happened. And then, throughout your day, catch yourself when you slip back into old thoughts and emotions and consciously choose to return to the state you cultivated in your meditation. Do not focus on the outcome. Focus on the process of becoming a different person. Do not wait for evidence before you commit. Trust that the evidence will appear as a result of your commitment. During these 7 days, pay attention to the synchronicities that begin to show up in your life. Notice the unexpected opportunities, the chance encounters, the sudden insights that seem to come from nowhere. These are not coincidences, they are the quantum field responding to your new electromagnetic signature. They are the universe reorganizing itself to match the signal you are broadcasting. They are the proof that you are no longer living as a victim of circumstance, but as a creator of your reality. At the end of the 7 days, come back to this channel and share your experience in the comments. Tell us what shifted. Tell us what appeared. Tell us how you feel different. Your story will inspire others to begin their own journey, and together we will build a community of individuals who are committed to conscious evolution. If you are ready to stop being a record of the past and start being a map to the future, then subscribe to the Master's Legacy. This channel is dedicated to exploring the profound teachings of the great masters of the mind, to bridging ancient wisdom with modern science, to providing you with the knowledge and the tools you need to transform your life from the inside out. Every video is designed to take you deeper into the principles of conscious creation, to give you new techniques and new insights, to support you on your journey of becoming your highest self. This is not just a YouTube channel. This is a community, a movement, a commitment to human potential. The final call to action is this: begin the work today. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait until your circumstances improve. Begin now with whatever you have wherever you are. Sit down, close your eyes, and do the meditation. Quiet your mind, rehearse your future, feel the elevated emotions. And then get up and live your day as the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. This is how change happens, not through grand gestures or perfect conditions, but through the daily, consistent choice to be someone new. This is how you break the habit of being yourself. This is how you rewire your brain. This is how you manifest a new reality. You are not here by accident. You did not find this video by chance. Some part of you, some deeper aspect of your consciousness, knew that it was time for a change. That part of you led you here, to this moment, to this message. Honor that part of yourself by taking action. Honor the wisdom that brought you here by applying what you have learned. Honor your future self by doing the work required to bring that future into being. The power is in your hands. The knowledge is in your mind. The potential is in your heart. All that remains is your decision to use them. Make that decision now. Begin the 7-day challenge. Subscribe to this channel, join the community, and step into the reality you were always meant to create. Your future self is waiting. The quantum field is listening. The transformation has already begun.